Hello and welcome to World Building Essentials and Exercises. This video is one of the essential ones, some super basics on biomes. Today it's going to be islands, specifically small ones. I think that we're probably going to be talking about islands for a while, so this is a little bit of an intro for the whole run. You see, you've got your small ones, but you also have medium and large. They can all fulfill different roles in a plot line. Have you ever seen Castaway? That's a small one. What about Australia? Now that's an island. This video is for storytelling and gaming, so for definition, we'll say that a small island is a single encounter zone. Anything smaller is just a rock, a reef, or maybe a sandbar. There's not a strict square footage for a minimum or a max, but there are some useful parameters. First, if it takes more than a day to explore, you're pushing on up into a medium. Second, the ecosystem, and I use that word loosely. It's driven by the sea around it. It might be a breeding place for turtles or a rookery for seabirds. We'll allow some coconut trees or some moss, but anything flowering is threatening the bounds. If your island is occupied by land animals, they better be able to fish. If there is a town, it's going to be a fishing village or a really small port. Is there a third? Is the island big enough for it? Sure, you always need a third. Third, a small island is a one-trick pony, or seahorse if you like. Maybe it's a pirate stronghold. Maybe it's home to a cave. Could be a sea dragon uses it for basking in the sun. It might be haunted, or house a ruin. Is it a prison for some exiled being of power? Whatever it is, it's just that one thing. So what's a small island going to look like? It might be a volcano, dormant or active. Now by adding some difficult vertical space, we might be pushing the 1-day rule, but for the most part that slope isn't going to have anything particularly interesting. You can have any climate you want here, creating a fire and ice feel, or, alternatively, you can surround it with a ring of jungle and make the earth shake. Maybe it's a worn down outcropping of rocks. You'll have moss and maybe a beach where some of the stone is worn to sand. This is a great resting place for birds. Speaking of which, fellow world builders, do you have all your migration routes worked out? Okay, never mind that for now. A rocky outcrop makes me think of cold and windswept, but it doesn't have to be. Now let's not ignore the obvious desert island. You can add some height if you want, but it can also just be a lot of sand. This is where you hide the rum, but it might also be a haunted isle where drowned sailors gather to bask in the sun. Every biome is a piece of the puzzle, a building block that you will use to construct your world. What I'm offering with this video is a new expansion pack for a world building game that you already own. Maybe you're a master, maybe you're just getting started, maybe you already have small islands in your repertoire. If that's the case, I hope I can add 1 or 2 unique pieces for your approval. A small island in your world might be super isolated. An example is the island of Mournstone. It's a tragic little place, 1,000 miles from anywhere. We'll be talking about it as part of this series. For now, I'll tell you, there's a small town on it and it's filled with desperation. It's a daily struggle not to give in to the hopelessness. Another set of blocks aren't isolated at all. Small islands can dot your coastlines. They're there to make the map look a little bit more interesting, but they can also be destinations from your party. Just a few hundred feet of separation from the mainland can give the bad guys a sense of security, some dire evil. It gets your party into a boat and forces them to engage in the logistical problems of water travel. This can be on an ocean's coast or an island in a lake. Could be an island in a lake, on an island that's in a lake, on another island. Stop. It could be you've picked out the set of blocks that are grouped together into an archipelago. They might be isolated as a group, hundreds of miles out to sea, or they could just be a day or two away from the mainland. You can inhabit them with a sea-dependent culture. Each little outpost on a different island has its own issues, but tied together into a hot mess of dramatic intricacy. It's getting close to the end of the video, so any new topic is going to be something we've already touched on. That's why I say in world building, never start with the same question twice. What you answer first is going to shape what comes later. In this case, we already know that we're looking at small islands as plot points. I think they best serve as spots for random or planned encounters. And yeah, I'm going to say it.
They're all planned encounters.
Because if you're not preparing your random encounters, you're making things harder for everyone. Now, where was I? It's easy enough to throw together a map of a small island. It's a little bit more than a battle map, but I have confidence that you can handle it. You can steal it from the internets if you don't have time. As my little brain is trying to figure this series out, I'm thinking about building on my random encounter series. We can have full island maps, some battle maps, and a story to go with it. Yeah, sounds like a plan, right? Of course, you can always borrow my Inkarnate creations for personal use. If you're using them to make money, contact me. I like to think I'm easy to work with. I'll try to remember to leave a link, but you can just Google me, Lewis Nichols on Inkarnate. Okay, focus. Let's round up our bullet points. Number 1. Small islands are random encounters for seagoing campaigns. It could be water, food, wood, treasure. It could be guarded by anything. Might not be guarded at all. There might be gold there, or magic, or knowledge. Anything goes. Number 2. Small islands can be a destination. The bad guy's lair could be home to a dangerous monster. Could be the location of some great treasure. Could also be the outpost of an NPC the party must consult. Number 3. It's a potential bastion. Bastions are something the new DMG is going to put a lot of emphasis on. This is a stronghold for the party. I mean, who doesn't want their own island, right? Number 4. Could be a starting point. Starting a seagoing campaign as some kind of lost scenario, shipwrecked on the beach, it's not a bad idea. Maybe the characters remember their pasts, maybe they don't. They have to get off the island, and you have them pretty well sealed onto a railroad of adventure as you bait them with escape and promise to new answers as they travel from island to island. Now, that's going to be our starting point, fellow adventurers. We've set a course for the next few months. There will definitely be an episode for medium islands and a separate one for big ones. We'll make some encounter videos, island related of course. We probably ought to talk about ships. Maybe revisit our naval warfare themes. You know, I'm in a naval game right now, and the DM has adopted a system for ship combat that seems to be working pretty well. That could be the subject of video in and of itself. We could talk about sea monsters and aquatic species and civilizations. Yeah, we're going to be on this water-centric world building for a while now. At the same time, the new DMG is releasing in under a month, and we've barely gotten into the player's handbook. It sounds like the DMG is going to get turned into a world-building guide, and I'm really looking forward to discussing it with you fine folks. In the meantime, do the stuff. Comment, like. By the way, did you guys know that only about 1 in 10 of you watching this video right now is actually subscribed? If you're listening to the end, this is obviously something that you are interested in. However, as always, whether you do these things or not, I'm glad that you were here. You are all important to the world, and I appreciate your existence. I hope you all have a great rest of the week. You deserve it. Cheers.